Hey, it's Terry Gorry, and this is the Irish Law and Small Business Podcast. So, yesterday was day 2 in the Wilson's Hospital versus Enoch Burke High Court case. This is a substantive case between the parties. The core issue is whether the school was justified in invoking the disciplinary procedure in the workplace. Yesterday, day 2, there was evidence given by the school's side. The first witness was the principal, the former principal, Niamh McShane. She says that let's just have a look. She was horrified. She was absolutely horrified when Enoch Burke interrupted a school religious service, asking her to withdraw her demand that teachers accept transgenderism. This is the evidence, direct evidence from Niamh McShane, the former school principal. She said that she felt agitated and hunted when Mr. Burke approached her at the end of a dinner following the service on June the 21st last. He again asked her to withdraw her demand and stood so close to her that, although he was not spitting at her, she could feel his spittle. She said she never asked teachers to accept transgenderism, and her request to teachers, made by email on May the 9th, was to support a transitioning student in their request to be addressed by their new preferred name and the pronoun they. This was very different to accepting them, or asking them rather, to accept transgenderism. She said she was embarrassed when Mr. Burke stood up as a bishop was about to deliver the concluding prayer at a religious service before a congregation including staff, students, community leader and clergy, and he spoke for about 2.5 minutes. She considered his challenge to her direction in such a public manner as disrespectful, and saw 6th-year students walk out of the chapel as he was speaking. She was absolutely horrified for the transitioning student in question by Mr. Burke's remarks, because this was a bringing into the public domain a clearly private matter. She said that Mr. Burke had previously made a significant challenge to her request when she sent the initial email, and he felt that a belief system was being forced on students. Before this, she gave evidence that she had a mainly positive interaction with Mr. Burke in the workplace. She knew that he had very strong Christian beliefs, and events in the school and so on gave rise to various issues, but she had hoped that they could work through it, and that was what happened previously. She said a similar request made to teachers in November 2021 to address another transitioning student by their preferred name and using they had gone unchallenged. This was Ms. McShane's direct evidence. She said after reflecting on the events of June the 21st and after taking advice, she decided Mr. Burke's behaviour had to be treated as gross misbehaviour or misconduct, and she treated it as a serious disciplinary matter, and she prepared a report for the Board of Management. She said it was important for the school to uphold its own ethos and to support students, and Mr. Burke, she believed, had broken the code of conduct for teachers for reasons including he had not been caring or fair. His behaviour in suggesting she had asked him to accept transgenderism was very serious, and she was afraid for the well-being of students and the teacher-student relationship. Her view was that Mr. Burke's behaviour was gross misconduct and his position was entrenched. She agreed that dismissal is among the options available under the Stage 4 disciplinary procedure which was invoked. Her own view was that she would not engage with Mr. Burke again on the matter, and it was necessary to move to Stage 4. So the decision was taken to suspend him pending investigation. The core issue again in this case, just to be clear, is that the school is looking for an order confirming that they were justified and correct in invoking the disciplinary process. Mr. Burke is arguing that the disciplinary process is essentially unfair, unwarranted, disproportionate, and is in breach of his constitutional rights, including his freedom to expression and religious beliefs. The case is going ahead without Mr. Burke being present. and he didn't join by remote link yesterday anywhere. The reason for that is his conduct on Tuesday, when the case kicked off, was such that Mr. Justice Alexander Owens ruled that he was in obvious contempt in the face of the court, and insisted, as a consequence of Mr. Burke's persistent submissions and interruptions, to exclude him from coming into the court and engaging in physical participation in the case until he agrees to obey the court's directions. But he has been told that he could participate by remote link. However, there was no sign of Mr. Burke yesterday. There was another witness then yesterday, Wednesday. Catherine Gibson Brabazon said she was involved with the school in various capacities over the years, and she was at the June the 21st religious service. She said that she was horrified when Mr. Burke, whom she did not then know, essentially hijacked the service towards its end and delivered a diatribe and a very personal attack on Miss McShane, which she could not make head or tail of. She approached Mr. Burke afterwards, asking him who he was. He told her, said he was a teacher, and went into a diatribe. She told him he should consider his position before walking away. At the dinner afterwards, she witnessed another woman, a student's mother, physically preventing Mr. Burke from moving towards Miss McShane. That was her evidence on oath yesterday in the High Court. So that's Catherine Gibson Brabazon, who was at the religious service on June the 21st, and the former principal of the school, Enoch McShane. In relation to the religious service in question, I see that Orla O'Donnell on the RTE News website is reporting that in relation to that service, the service in question, the church service, was attended by parents, pupils, past pupils, members of the clergy, teachers and former teachers. She said she had no notice that Mr. Burke was going to say anything. But just shortly before the bishop said the concluding prayer, she told the court that Mr. Burke stood up in the congregation and asked that she withdraw her demand of staff and students to comply with her request. She said he spoke about the ethos of the school and said her request was not in line with it. Miss McShane said she was embarrassed for herself, embarrassed for the bishop, and embarrassed for everyone else attending and trying to understand what was going on. She said she was absolutely horrified for the student who had made the request, and for other students, that the issue was being raised in this public way. She said that Mr. Burke spoke for about 2.5 minutes and tried to speak again, but the bishop told him he had his time and concluded the service. Miss McShane said students who had been in the chapel had walked out. She said she was made aware they were upset and didn't want to come back in, so a planned presentation for former teachers was moved outside. She said the event then moved to the dining hall where a dinner had been planned. She said she was aware Mr. Burke was sitting at the back of the dining hall. After the meal, while she was talking to people, she said he approached her and interrupted her conversation, saying he was asking her one more time to withdraw her demand. She said she told him not now and would discuss it with him the following day. When she went to talk to someone else, she said he approached her again and again asked her to withdraw her demand. She told the court he was close enough to her that she could feel his spittle on her face. She said she felt kind of hunted and described Mr. Burke as agitated. She said she was embarrassed and mortified at this stage. She felt nervous and apprehensive and felt she didn't want to be on her own in a difficult situation, but she said the school chaplain and a retired staff member escorted her to her home on the school grounds. So that is the evidence that was given yesterday by Miss Niamh McShane, former school principal, and the lady who I've described or named earlier on there, Miss Brabazon Gibson. Yes, Catherine Gibson Brabazon. She said she'd been involved in the school in various capacities over the years. That was the evidence yesterday. That is day 2 of the Wilson's Hospital School versus Enoch Burke High Court case. Hope you find this video useful. If you do, I'd appreciate if you gave it the thumbs up down below. Thanks a lot.